Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media Group, and we're on our Arts and Entertainment Network tonight. And we got a big show coming in town, Greenwood, and they're talking about the massacre that took place in Tulsa. And uh, this play that's coming into town, we privileged to have uh, the author of the play, Miss Mia Walters, on the show tonight. How are you doing, Miss Walters?
Hi, I am doing great. Thanks for asking.
You know, off camera, I was giving you a little bit of my hyperbole, and I was like, I want you to go back to kindergarten and tell our people a little bit about yourself. So let's get busy with that. Tell our audience about who you are.
All right. Well, I had a passion for writing back in, say, as early as elementary school. I used to write, I started off writing, small poetry. And then the poetry became deeper meaning, more metaphor when I got to middle school. And then when I got to high school, my poetry was, on another type of level. So much so that like my English teachers would give me like extra credit for like writing a poem.
I'm the interrupt king.
Yeah.
Can you put some dates to as you're
Oh,
talking about who you are
okay. So,
and schools? You know where you went to school.
okay. Well, I went to Green Pastures Elementary School in Spencer, Oklahoma. And that was my fifth grade year. And that's when I really started doing poetry was fifth grade, Green Pastures Elementary School. I want to say it was 94 around
Mm-hmm.
that time. And then in middle school, I went to Rogers Middle School in Spencer. So I dabbled in that. And then in high school, I really took my poetry and writing to another level. And I went to high school at Southeast High School in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I was in high school from 1999 and graduated in 2003. And during that time is when my teachers would give me extra credit for writing poetry. So I used to get like A plus plus, because I used to write poetry and they just loved it. So that's how I knew, I had a passion for writing. I always loved reading. I'm an advocate on, reading. As when I was in elementary school, I used to read Maya Angelou books because they challenged me. First started off with Judy Blume, and then I went from Judy Blume directly to Maya Angelou, and she became like, oh my gosh, I loved her. I mean, I still love her writing, to this day. It's something I always go back to. She was somebody that I looked up to as a child growing up. And so I remember my first book I read was Singing and Swinging, Getting Married Like Christmas by Maya Angelou. And oh, I love that book. And I used to have to get a dictionary and look up some of the words because I was, I was in the fifth grade. And so anyways, so I've always been big on reading and writing, and so after actually in high school, my junior year, which would have been 2002, we had to do a magazine for my history class. And in this magazine, we had to interview certain people for the magazine. And I chose to interview a woman named Pastor Barbara Robinson. And she told me about the massacre in Tulsa. And that was my very first time hearing about it because she was like a descendant. And so her family had lost their business during the massacre. And I was just blown away that that happened in Oklahoma. And I'm now 17 years old and I'm just now hearing about it. And so it intrigued me enough to want to learn more about that. And so, but I did not start writing the play until 2012. Well, I started researching it in 2012, and I researched it for a year and a half. So it was mid 2013 before I had all the information I needed to start writing the play. So, which is a whole nother story because I did not want Black Wall Street play to be my first project or production that I came out with because I thought it was too heavy. And I'm more of a lighthearted person. So I wanted to do a comedy first. I was like, oh, I'm gonna write a comedy first and then, I'll come out with Black Wall Street. However, God had different plans because every time I would go to sleep, God would be telling me to write this play about Black Wall Street. And I'm like, no, God, I'm gonna write it later. I want to write something light, something fun. And I'm telling you, every night I could not sleep. He just kept waking me up. And then one day, my cousin, Randy, he called me and he said, cousin, I feel like you need to write a play about Black Wall Street. And I said, have you been talking to God? Because he won't let me sleep. And now you're telling me this. And my cousin is a videographer, so he does short films and all of that. So we talk about short films. So for him to say a play was not common. And so he said, well, that's just confirmation if God's already. And I said, yeah. And that's when I started, the research process.
As
And
I
then,
said, I'm the cutoff king.
yeah.
You went into exactly what I was getting ready to say. Was this your first play? And it went, I'm like that. When the creator be telling you your arms are too short to box with God. So you better get in line and get on the mission.
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, God was showing me a vision of where this play could go and what it could do and how many lives it could touch and the enlightenment and everything. And I saw it so clear. And I just thought like, God, it's just me, like it's, can I do this story justice? This is something that happened. This is serious. You can't play about these things. Like you can't halfway do a play about Black Wall Street. You have to invest everything, you know? And so I was like, I just want to do a comedy first, like it's my first big project. So yeah, I had
And
to
what was
surrender
that
and
like?
give it to
What
God.
was that like? See, you writing a play, but getting it into production, two different subjects.
Yes,
Run it down.
yes. So like I said, I finished writing it in 2013, and then I wanted to start, producing it. And I was still living in Oklahoma City at the time, and I was getting rejected back and forth. A lot of people didn't, want to help me, didn't want to receive it. They said this play is too controversy. You might have a target on your back if do this play, and it was a lot of naysayers. And even in my family was afraid for my well-being if I did the play, and so it kind of was a little discouraging. So I actually set on the play until 2016. I moved to Atlanta in 2015, and I ran across a play director in 2016, and I was doing a short film, and he really liked my short film, and he said, do you have any plays? And I said, yeah, I have a play about Black Wall Street. And his name is Darrell Daniels. He's my mentor. He took me up under his wing and he showed me step by step what I needed to do to get my play into production. So if it had not been for him, I don't know how I would have known everything that went into it. Even though I was an actor first, like I was acting in other people's productions in Oklahoma, I didn't know all that went into it. So he took me up under his wing, and every Wednesday we met until everything was done, and we started casting. We cast in 2017, and then we did our first show at the Windmill Theater in Atlanta in 2018.
How was that received?
It was received very well. In 2018, there were so many people that still had no idea about Black Wall Street. It's not how it is now. Since the centennial, it's a larger, more people know about it. But in 2018, they were like, this happened in the United States. And I'm like, yeah, And so it was a little bit challenging because people didn't really understand. Like Deep Greenwood was the name that the people in that community called the that area. They called it Deep Greenwood. And so that's why I chose that as the title instead of Black Wall Street. And so saying, Deep Greenwood, even though it says Deep Greenwood, the hidden truth of Black Wall Street, there were still people that did not know what they were really coming to, what they were coming to see. So it was a little bit of a challenge, at first. And I always like to have talkbacks. So in 2018, we had a talkback, and man, we had so many questions. People was, wow, man. Yeah.
Tell me this, has it how many other cities have you been in?
Let's see. So that was Atlanta. Then we did Oklahoma City.
How did they receive it there? That's what I'm
Oklahoma
trying
City.
to see. Were you building momentum as you got different venues?
Yeah, so the first time we did it in Oklahoma City was February 2020. And it was my very, very first time in Oklahoma City. It was a okay turnout. It wasn't a big turnout. We did it at Douglas Auditorium. I had I think about 200 people that came out, but they loved it. They loved it. Oh my gosh, they loved it. And I remember this woman, she works at Fox 25, the news station. And she was just like, Mia, I'm so proud of you. This play is amazing. And I'm always worried about how my Caucasian nation will receive the play. And it was received well by them as well. And, they let me know that some of it was uncomfortable because with my play, I tell it from the Black perspective and the white perspective. So I have, my Black guys in the Black cafe and my white men in the white cafe, and they're telling the same events that's going on, but
From
from their
different
perspective.
perspectives?
Yes.
All
And
right.
so, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, sometimes the language is a little hard to digest, because I had to keep it raw and as authentic as possible. So, I've had people say, "Man, the white actors did so well," but then I was so mad at them at the same time.
No, well, hold it. That was excellent because that means they did their job.
Right.
When I see that, I have to pull myself back and say, that's not that person. They're acting. Because when they do their job so good, especially white actors dealing with trauma that from Black people, you can, like Archie Bunker, you might would think he's a cold racist if you watched all of the series and the different things that he was in. Mm-hmm. And boy, well, I looked at your cast. You want to mention some of the people in your cast?
Yes. Are you talking about just like my general cast or
right.
my hero? Okay.
Well, and hold it, both. Run it down. We like the FBI over here. We want to know everything about everything.
Well, I have some of my cast been with me since 2017. And that would be Solomon Williams. He lives out in LA now. Amazing actor, got an amazing singing voice. Then I have an actress, DeAntoinette Shine. She's also been with me since 2017. She also has an amazing singing voice as well. And then I have my Little Rock cast. I have Dion. Why can I think of Dion's last name? But also Dion Burns. Great actor. He's actually featured in a movie that just came out, Freedom Path. It's out in theaters right now. He's a great up and coming actor. Then I have Keith Presley out of Little Rock, also a great actor. Let me see, who am I missing? Cornelius Jefferson. He lives in Atlanta. A great actor, got a great singing voice as well. And see, I have so many casts. Okay, I have Wade Marble. He is one of my white actors, and he's amazing. He's also a playwright. I was in his plays as well.
And
So
who
we
is he
always
playing in this?
so he plays H.F. Newblock, and H.F. Newblock was a war veteran in Tulsa, and he was the one who tried to take the gun from the young black veteran down by the courthouse. So there was this tussle between the guns in front of the courthouse, and when the gun went off, that's when that started the whole massacre right there. So it was very important to have his character in the play because he played that pivotal role of everything being chaotic. So that was H.F. Newblock, and he always gets booed at the end of the production. I have another one, Token Burchett. He plays Richard Jones, and Richard Jones was the white newspaper owner of the Tulsa Tribune. And his article is actually why they went to the courthouse. That's why all the whites gathered at the courthouse, because he had put in his newspaper to lynch a Negro boy. And so the lynch mob, basically went to the courthouse to essentially lynch Dick Rowland because of that article that was put in the newspaper. So I had to have him in the production and speak on him.
What kicked it off? Somebody not stepping off the side of the street, or what kicked the whole thing off?
So, of course, that it was just the straw that broke the camel's back because there were things leading up to that. So when anybody comes to the play, they'll see what was actually leading up to this big massacre. Because the straw that broke the camel's back was a young black man named Dick Rowland. He was 19 years old, and he was in the Drexel building because he was a shoe shiner. And so back in that time, when you were working downtown, they had one restroom for coloreds, and it was at the very top of the building. So, you have to get on the elevator to get to that restroom. So he went on the elevator, went to the restroom. As he was coming down, the elevator shook and he stepped on the attendant's foot. Her name was Sarah Page. She was also 19. And when he stepped on her foot, she screamed. And report says, like, basically when she was talking to the police, when they got, the information from her, she had an ingrown toenail, and that's why she screamed so loud. So anyways, she screamed and he took off running. So they thought that he assaulted her. So that's what started the whole thing.
Right. I skimmed over, but after the riots, didn't they charge him?
No, he was never
left
charged.
Town the day after court.
Not necessarily. So they dropped all the charges. So what happened? What had happened was what happened was the sheriff, after they started, okay, when the gun went off, and then basically the mob started going towards the black community, so they moved away from the courthouse. And so Sheriff McCullough, he was a sheriff at that time, he snuck Dick Rowland out of Tulsa to keep him safe.
Right. Get out
of
town, baby boy.
Yeah. And so he snuck him out. And then after all of that, those charges was dropped because Sarah Page actually told what happened, and it's rumored, which is pretty accurate, they had a type of a relationship. I don't know how intense it was, but Sarah Page and Dick Rowland knew each other. Because the woman who raised him, which wasn't his real birth mother, because he was actually an orphan, and but a woman named Damie, she is who raised Dick Rowland since he was young, about I think 5 or 6 years old. And so she had said that she had seen that same girl, Sarah Page, with Dick Rowland way before this elevator incident. So they were known to be, around each other. And so it's a very interesting story. I don't want to give too much away.
No, hold it. Let me say this. You remember I told you how old I was? Because all of that stuff was going on when I was young. in the 50s, and because I'm from New York, but my grandmother had a large farm in South Carolina, a little town called Lynchburg. They got, they got Lynchburg, Virginia. They got Lynchburg, North Carolina. Uh, but it's right outside of Sumter and Florence. And when I would go down there in the summer and see chain gangs, and you're from the north, and you go to downtown and you see the white and the black fountains. Uh, I just put up on our network remembering Alvin Sykes. Alvin Sykes is who brought all the attention to uh, what's the name that got killed out of Chicago, Emmett Till. He brought all of that to the forefront. But you'll be in Kansas City?
Yes, we're coming to Kansas City on Saturday. Saturday we'll be at the Kansas City Music Hall.
Are you looking forward to it?
Oh, I'm always looking forward to it. I'm always looking forward to it. I love our production. I know that people will love it when they see it. So I'm always ready to give a good show.
Have you been to Kansas City before?
No, haven't been to Kansas City before.
All right. Where are you located now?
I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
How you like LA? I mean Atlanta.
I love Atlanta. I really do because when I got here, I was embraced by a theater community called the Collective, and they really helped me tremendously with my play. And so that unity is what I was always in search for. And so Atlanta they've been good to me, here.
It's almost like when I was coming up, but it's not like that now. DC was Chocolate City, and Atlanta is Chocolate City. From my understanding, I've been down there a couple of times, but there's more opportunity, more cooperation when you're trying to get some things done from your business community and your arts community per se, arts and entertainment. Well, I'm not gonna steal my partner's closing. So, so is there anything that you would like to tell our audience before we close this out?
Yes, definitely come out and see the play. We touch on the entire history of Black Wall Street, from how it got started, from when the years that they were thriving, the massacre, but most important, how they came back and rebuild it all. I think that part is not spoken about enough. The people in that community, the resilience of the people in that community, the power, the faith that they had in that community to be able to come back after the tragedy and build together, because they had no help, no one helped. They had to help each other. So the reason that I even, was excited about doing this play was to promote unity. It's so important for us to work together. We are stronger when we work together. So that's what I really want everybody to leave, knowing the power of unity, So definitely come out Saturday.
I love it. It's Black History Month. And as I'm always trying to remind my community of whose shoulders they really standing on, because at the end of the day, because I'm in media, I understand that the major media has us programmed almost to forget who we are and what's really important to us as people of color. And in addition to, as I said, the sacrifices that our forefathers, not just immediate forefathers, our ancestors have made. And the point that you made, that you loved about what happened in Oklahoma, was the resurrection, the phoenix of and that's resiliency, and that's what we've had as people of color. So, with that being said, as we always close, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
Good night.
Program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.